Good morning again. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your glories. And now when I give myself away, here today we see in Sirach, the 44th chapter, and Matthew, the 5th chapter, which is very familiar to most of us. The beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, the blessings, the blessed are those, blessed are those, blessed are those. So in both we see where people are being recognized for their willingness to acknowledge and to walk in the way of or attempt to be good at that they suspect that the Most High Creator expects of us. Because all we can do is really suspect. Like we take what's written and we can't take it and make it our everything, but we have to make it a part of our existence. But if, again, as I always say, and I'll say this till I die, if you can't validate information outside itself, you have to be suspect of it. So I'm saying that to say that some information can be validated, some can't. If you choose to live your life as if you don't follow that information dot and tittle, that you're going to end up in a place that the people that created it God didn't touch the heart of one of them to tell you that we just did that to keep y'all in fear, then that's up to you. That's your choice to make. Nothing I can do about it. But I do lift the name of the Most High Creator up high, and I'll forever give the Most High Creator glory. I know what it means not to have a relationship with the Creator, and I also know what it means to have a relationship with the Creator. I lived on both sides of the fences, if you will. Not that I ever not knew that there was, but the examples that I experienced as a child going to church turned me away from the church, because all I found at the church was cruelty. I found the ugly stain of racism between a race. Right? In the 7th Ward, as I told the story on several occasions, walking down Roman Street, when we come to St. Bernard, Corpus Christi Church was 2 blocks to the right. Sacred Heart was 1 block to the left. I'm 5, 6 years old. I want to go one time to the left. It's a Catholic church. We Catholic. And we go in the church to be told that y'all know y'all belong down the street. And because y'all children, I'm going to let you stay this time. But if you come in again, I'm going to put you out and send you where you belong. By a man that wasn't European. But he passed the brown paper bag test. And so this is the welcoming that I received as a child in the church. And I'm supposed to stand up and say the church been good to me? The church has never been nothing but devastation to me. But when I look at my relationship with the Most High Creator, wherever I was, whatever stage I was in life, or whatever state of mind I was in, whatever I was doing or not doing, I felt the love of the Creator. So I began to see that the entity or a institution can't give me what I need. I have to get that from the Most High Creator. because entities and institutions have failed me when I was pure at heart and only trying to do what I had been told was right. And in the one place that's supposed to represent the love of the Most High Creator, I couldn't find it. As an innocent child that only wanted to do that they have been told was right. So I guess as a small child of African descent, prepare yourself to be treated whatever way we want to treat you, because y'all in fell for the okie doke. You have swallowed our poison. And so this morning, they have this lady, I met some people, and she said she wanted me to come on her radio show, but then she wanted to put all these restrictions. You have to use the King James Version or the NIV. You have to give me your verse and that's, no, I'm not doing that. Because now you're going to tell me what I have to say. And if that's the case, then why should I go on? Just record yourself and listen to it. But I've been doing this 19 years. I know how to conduct myself. I know how to conduct myself. I'm not new at this. I may not do it the way you like. And what happened, because I told them we was God, and she thinking that I'm saying I'm the big kahuna, the most high, whatever you refer to. No, I'm not that stupid. I know exactly what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying is correct, and you're not going to put your foot on my throat because first you want me to come so your audience can clash me. But then somebody must have told you something. Now you want to muzzle me. So I say, the Bible says, how can two walk together unless they agree? So we don't agree. So I said, delete my picture that I sent you, and I don't desire to come on your radio program. If I know that I've tried my best to live righteously, that I try my best to do what I think that God would have me to do that allows me to feel comfortable as a human, and I let you take that away from me, then can I say that for those who the Son set free are free indeed? Because I'm not free. Now, again, I'm not stupid enough to go in there with all that stuff. Like I know a lot of stuff about color, that just I wouldn't do that. I would stick on topic, but you're not going to tell me what I have to say. That's not going to happen. But anyway, oh, Most High Creator, I thank you for allowing me to stand before your people today. I pray that you come out, not Bernard. I pray that if there's anything such as that of myself try to come out, that it be cast into the sea where it should not rise again. I thank you, I honor you, I praise you, and I magnify your holy and precious position in my life. In the name of those who are holy, as we could see why they took, in the name of all that is holy, I pray, amen. If we look in Sirach, I could sit down just by letting y'all look at it and see why they took the apocryphal books out of the Bible. The first King James Bible that was written in 1611 had the apocryphal books in them. But they tell you 14, but they actually have 16. So you can see why, because it says that it gives ancestral lineage. Now, what happened? What they say? They say, so God didn't speak for 400 years. So all these apocryphal books of them 400 years when God was supposed to be sleeping. That's just like to say that the way that we worship, or what we say and how we say, is the way that it's been done now with the information, factual information, knowing that our ancestors been on this planet over 4 million years. So can we authentically say that we know how they worshiped 4 million years ago? No, we can't. But the one thing that seemed to be consistent with humanity is this, is that they recognize, even those who haven't been touched by the poison of the new way, those who stay their distance, they still have a worship system. They believe in a higher energy than them. It's just a consistent belief in human nature. No matter, it's not consistent with religion or nothing. It's just something that, and another thing is a pecking order and some type of currency, whether it be tobacco, whether it be rocks, because years ago Burkina Faso currency was rocks. So there's just things that wasn't taught by people. It's just people that didn't have the so-called benefit of modern education still done, because it just seemed to be the energy that drives your human being self to be oneness with the Creator, its creation, and all that encompasses. So when I think about that, then I look, I never was told that God thought much of me. I never was told that. Oh, and then the icing on the cake, and I'll move on from here. When I was in the Army, and they was having a Roman Catholic service, and we was in the field, and I was the first person to show up, and the guy who was doing the service told me that he didn't know they had a black Catholic, a black Roman Catholic. His words, not mine. I quote verbatimly, I didn't know that they have black Roman Catholics. I said, no, well, in New Orleans, I know a lot of them. And he walked away from me. Didn't even want to talk to me. And how am I supposed to receive God from you? So we have to ask ourselves, why do we continue to look for God in a place where we know God don't exist? But we keep doing it. Why can't we get that the God of the book, the Bible, whatever you want to call it, because there's more than just this. Even the Bible tell you that there's way more than this. But but indoctrination and enslavement tell you that if you go outside of this, you're doomed to hell. That's been proven not to even exist. But anyway, so in this he says, thank you for being kind and patient. Thank you for, that's what blessed means. God's self is taking the time out to say thank you. That's what, this is how the Sermon on the Mount started out. Thank you for being committed to the work of God in this manner. Thank you. And you see, each one of them, when you say blessed, each one of them came with a promise connected to it. So they say you can't question God. That's a lie. If God say you do this and this going to happen, if you do this and this don't happen, then somebody got to answer why. And if they say God saying it, then God have to answer. Somebody got to answer. If you deposit your $1,000 check in the bank and it don't make it in your account, somebody got to answer for that $1,000. Well, you tell me, if this thing is so serious that it determines your eternal destination, and the information don't add up or it's not there, and you ain't going to ask a question about it? But if your $1,000 not there, you going to ask a question about it? Which one should be more important to me? The $1,000 or my eternal destiny? So when I woke up to that and I started asking questions, not to be not to challenge you or your lack of knowledge, but to challenge the information that you've given me, because I have to plant this inside of me as my reality. And I have to be able to validate that my reality even exists. And too many people can't do it. So what they try to do is shut you down. But if you know you where you at because God says, I brought you here. They think they put you here, but I did. If you know that, then you're supposed to stand on what? On that as your reality. Now, again, 14 ministers at lunch. I'd rather be wrong with the Jews than right without them. I said, not me. I don't want to be wrong with nobody. The only one out of 14. Well, guess who was ostracized? But guess who don't care? I stand true to who I am. I don't care what the arena is. I believe that where I'm at, God have me here. I look at my life journey. I look at the race, where I'm at. I constantly seek and ask God to get me out the way, to teach me more about me, that I can be honest with myself so that I can be the best me that I can be. But if I'm lying to me, how can I be the best me when I can't even tell myself the truth? How can I fix something that don't exist in my head? It exists physically, but it don't exist in my head. So because I refuse to allow it to exist in my head, it don't exist? Really? So I think about all that stuff, and I look at how gracious God is. We look in Sirach, where they're saying that many great people did many great things, but because they didn't get out in circulation, and let's be real, they have people to today hate Dr. King because they don't know the works that Dr. King done. See, they have gotten their information out of the slave trade. And they say Dr. King did us wrong by integration. No, before Dr. King died, he said himself that I feel like I integrated my people into a burning building. Not because his intent for integration wasn't right, but because a slave couldn't receive being free without being connected to that enslaved them. So the story returns, the rooster returns home to crow. And what's the crow? That I've been freed, but I couldn't let go of what I was comfortable with, let go. So my freedom became less and less free because I allowed that I was freed from to come back and overpower me. And so the gift that God gave you now is being suppressed because you're allowing the devils of the planet to control your godly destiny. See, the God of the Bible said, thank you, I appreciate you. And also says that the things that you've done will be passed down to your ancestors, but you don't have to be the mayor. You don't have to be the president. Those not godly. Every time I see somebody, this one black lady, everything is Trump, 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 Trump. Anybody who likes Trump, I say, I never heard you talk about right and wrong. I never heard you address the fact that this man is a known liar. And the Bible says the devil's the father of lies and the author of deceit. I never hear you talk about that. And like you're supposed to be evangelists. If you're an evangelist, you're supposed to stand up for what's true. Like I tell them, I'm not anti-Trump, I'm anti-lie. So some people get so caught up, another lady with this Dem and Republican, Democrat. And I said, miss, I don't fool with that stuff. I said, but I tell you this, you tell me what the party that you taking all your, wasting your time on, because none of them don't give a darn about you, whether whichever one, but you tell me what they've done for you and your family personally. She didn't respond back. You know why? Because the answer to that is nothing. I already knew that. So why would I waste my time on something that have no benefit to me, opposed to spending my time on something that I know have worked for me, that I know have brought me from one place to another, that I know when I had done all I can, like Donnie McClurk just said, and I stood and God showed out. These not things that the textbook told me. This is not something that I learned on a corner. This is a life that I've lived. And I have someone here right there that can validate this information. And there's also another sister, Sister Loretta, that can validate, because Loretta been around me 30 years. And the other day she was talking about it. So this is stuff, again, it's not about me. I use me because I don't get mad. So this is stuff that can be validated. So this is information that you can believe because it's validated by not me, but by people outside of me. Now, of course, you could say, well, Blanca have a vested interest. But if you know Blanca, me and Blanca this morning had this conversation. We just, Blanca apple and I'm orange. We different. And we have different opinions and everything. So she's not just going to go with me. If you know anything about her, she have her own opinion, and her opinion matters to her, all that stuff. The point, I'm making a point here, and the point is, if you allow you to be validated through someone else, then you ain't no good to yourself. What God says here. What God says here? God says, Denise, blessed are you. He didn't say that you blessed, but you need to be told through Bernard. That's your pastor. He didn't say that. You see, and so I told somebody, I said, you can't wait for who you are to come out of the mouth of someone else. If I was still waiting just to be told I belong in ministry by George Stallings, I was still, I never was told, and I'll never be told by him. He don't like me, and I know it, and I'm uncomfortable with it. Because I'm not here because of him. Because I never really liked him. I don't like his style of ministry or anything. But I didn't let that stand in the way because for me, this bigger. This bigger than him and it's bigger than me. But I know this, and it's not because of George Stallings, but I know God is in this. And I know I tried to walk away many times and God wouldn't let me. I know that. See, I know that for a fact. I can validate that information. I know God is here. So when my deacon tell me, if this don't be around no more, I say, this going to be around because it's validated by God. This not about George Stallings. This not about Bernard Waters. This not about Glenn Vincent, John Marie, August C. Griffin, and Paul Anthony Dillon, and the host of the other ones that got this together. This was about God saying that if my people who are called by my name should humble themselves, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, pray, then they will hear from heaven, I will hear their land. There's a lot of us that's been praying. And so even though some people are in our way to today, and I always say this, we're in our Exodus period, but there's going to be a day, whether I be here or not, if I'm not here and you here, you'll say, he stated that the seams is going to burst again. When I got in this, it was. But you have to go through the process of elimination, just like your body go through. Food is good for you. You eat the right food. But some still have to come out as waste. Right? Some still have to come out as waste. And it's good for you. Am I right or wrong? I'm trying to keep it 100. And so the same thing with anything. I'm not saying nothing about people, but I'm saying that if you allow that to be your determining factor of who you are, then guess what? You're lost. You don't have a real relationship with the Most High Creator, and you're wasting your time and the Creator's time. But when you get that, the Creator says that the impact that you make will be felt by generations to come. And your name might not be mentioned. My name will never be mentioned as the person that started the African American Catholic congregation, because I didn't. But is it not fair that Glenn Vincent, Joe Marie, Charles Anthony Stephen, Father Dillon, and all them people that did, is it not fair that their names are mentioned opposed to the name of one person? Is it not fair that all the people that put in blood, sweat, and tears over the years, this thing ain't around 29 years for not 30 years for nothing. It's going to just 30 years. God ain't got to be on it. Again, it's not about money. They have churches with way more access than us. They go out of business every day. So I'm inclined to believe either I'm like they say, I'm retarded, I'm stupid, I'm something, but I'm inclined to believe that God's hand is on this. I am. I'm telling you. I feel that way. I do feel that way. Again, I'm stupid as heck. 28 years and counting I've been in this. But again, I like that sometime I can look in the book of life, or in the book that man assembled, that we might conduct our life somewhat godly, and for something to say, well, thank you for being willing to be the perpetual sacrifice. Thank you for allowing yourself to be made mockery of, but you still kept pressing towards the mark. See, this is the list that I want to be on. So if my name is not engraved in the stone, so what? But what can't be said that I haven't been here? That can't be said. And at some point, something will have to be said, but not only about me. Like the other day, this lady said, when they had the soap opera, she says, I stand and receive this award, but everyone that have anything to do with it, I speak for them. It's not me. I didn't do it. We did it. And so it's not you. It's not me. It's us. We come here Sunday after Sunday, Tuesdays when we can. We do this, we do that. We've been doing that. See, God ain't do that for us. God didn't do that. You did it in honor of God. So you utilize the God in you. But you had some skin in the game because you had to make the decision to do it. So when I was reading, if you're reading in the second reading, which is a very powerful reading, and then she talks about that at the end, about having free choice. You have the freedom to choose, but be willing to live with the choices you made. So for me, I choose this. I don't choose religion. Y'all know I don't believe in religion one iota. I believe in spirituality, but I do know this, and I stand on any mountain, on the top of any building, and I would say this to anyone that would hear it, that I know where I was in life, I know where I'm at now in life, and it's my belief that it was connection outside of me that put me on track. Yes, I know that Viola McWilliams, I'm called by her dad's last name, Bernard Matthews, I know that my parents is up there singing praises, that, their son that been through a lot, made some bad choices, not really bad choices, but messed with substance that could have overcome him, didn't know. But I know that they have a level of proudness. I know that they all in me being, when I'm out of whack, get me back in whack. I believe in that. That's one thing we like, even that ancestral belief, they try to teach us that that's bad. But some of them, they've never been to Ireland, they've never been to Italy, but they're going to tell you they're Italian. They're going to tell you I'm Irish. You've never been to Scotland, but they're going to tell you they're Scottish. But for the African to embrace their Afrocentricity, it's a problem. You're not suspect of that? Is it ever a time that just your common sense kick in and make you suspect? Now, and I quit here, because I was saying this when we was back there, when the bishop was here. Now, you would look, hey, Sonny, you would think that Egypt was all that Africa had to offer. Egypt was one of the poorest areas of Africa, pre-Roman and Greek occupation. But there was a time when a white man couldn't set foot in Egypt. But here's the deal. Trade, why you think the slave ships didn't leave east coast of Africa? Because everything was on the west coast. The gold, the diamonds, the wealth, the 10 still to today, the 10 richest men to ever grace the planet was all African. And all from West Africa, basically. Now, that story is not the truth because the Rothschilds is worth about $500 trillion, but they'll never tell you that. Because I was reading something day before yesterday that said, when you have a war, the Rothschilds finance both sides, so they can't lose. That's like, people at the racetrack, and they had this guy that he used to have to wear raid to the racetrack because he would go to 10, they have 10 horses, he would 10 different people and give each of them a number. He couldn't lose. And he's not the only one that did. I forgot they had a term for that. You see? So, he had a term for that. He couldn't lose. And so that's what they do. So if you look before Egypt was anything, the people from Egypt used to have to journey over the Sahara Desert to the Niger River, where the trade from West Africa was brought up the Niger, that they can have the goods and stuff that they needed. Then they had to journey back. And it wasn't until King Massa Musa journeyed to Egypt, because they was buying a lot of stuff from him. He's known as the world's richest man, the man that ever lived on the planet Earth, King Massa Musa, the Canadian province. So when he went there, then he allowed them to turn him into, he embraced Islam and everything started changing. Why? Because Judaism, so-called Christianity, and Islam was all created by the same people, the Romans and the Greeks. But the information they took information that was there already. So the only place on the planet Earth that have autology is Egypt, because they created it. And so you have all these brilliant minds that go to Egypt, but how about before Egypt? So when you start learning, you'll be like, okay, this is where they want your focus on. But it's all them. So if you want to get out of them and get into your truth, you got to go past that. Or you have to disconnect from that. Now, do I want to go to Egypt? Yeah. So I was reading an article, and the imposter that called himself Egyptian now says that there's these black Africans talking about they're from Egypt. They're not from Egypt. No, you're not from Egypt, stupid. Egypt is on the continent of Africa. The people that come from that continent don't look like you. You are an infiltrator. But if you don't know, you see, so you let people come and infiltrate you, your whole life, your sense of being, who you are supposed to be. Why? Because you don't have information on self. So you don't know how to identify with yourself. So you what? What they say, a person that stands for nothing do what?
Go for anything.
Come on now, fall for anything. And so that's what have happened. So when we start pulling the layers off, and mind you now, this is information that's been years in coming to me. Because I clearly see I was the other way for a long time, because that's what I was taught, that's what I knew, and that's what I lived and spoke. But when God started peeling and the truth started coming out. I said, once again, once again. But I was reading something, and it was just as big, why most Africans that want to pull away from any European interference end up dead. Because without Africa, France will be bankrupt in less than a year. If Africa cut off all its aid and everything to France, to Europe, Europe wouldn't exist no more. It would go back to being the first ghetto as it was, creating all these people with animal. Why you think they're so animalistically attacked? Things that just seem to make common sense to people that embrace real humanity and God. They had this old white lady, Jane Elliott. I've been saying her name a lot because I'm going to be honest, I was shocked because usually when I see white people trying to talk about black people, I don't pay attention to it. I'm going to be honest with you. So I clicked on Jane Elliott, and I got the shock of my life. You want to hear some truth? She's an old white lady, and she tell you, they've been threatening to kill me, but I don't care. I'm going to tell this truth. God have told me to tell this truth, and I'm going to tell this truth. And if you start hearing it from her perspective, then you'd be like, wow, like the same things that I have been saying for a long time. But again, when I become my own God, and I limit myself to those who I want something to come from, then I'm not letting the God of all creation do what the God of creation do. Enhance my life. Make me better. Not only be gracious of the fact that I'm willing to present myself as a living sacrifice, whole and acceptable unto that Creator, Mother Earth, Mother God, Earth, Father God, the Most High Creator. But I limit myself from being the best Bernard I can be as I pass along this journey. When I figured out that if I'm going to experience heaven, I better do it now. Because all them stories that they tell, because I always say this, and I mean this with all I have in me. If I did die and go to a place that had streets paved with gold and mansions and all these children starving, I would tell them I want out. I swear I would. I'm telling you, that's where I'm at now. Because what kind of God would that be? To have streets paved with gold for dead folk that don't even have cars, don't even have to walk, because your spirit. It's the truth, though. Mansions where people here sleeping with rodents and stuff, being bitten and infested. If that's the kind of God that I'm serving, then I'm on the wrong train, y'all. I caught the wrong bus. But I want to serve the God of love and compassion, the God that humanity, that's supposed to be their prized creation, I want to serve that God that want to see that when they was hungry, did I feed them? When they was thirsty, did I give them to drink? That makes sense? That makes sense. So, but again, I swear I used to be, with all that stuff and all this laid up and I'm going to be, all we going to be. Come on, man, really? Like, my mom and my dad is both here and in Africa right now because they don't have limits of this. When we exit this, then the limitations that we have in this is gone. So you just spirit everywhere at all times. Because what? Suppose you return back to God. Where's God? What we say God is? All seeing, all knowing, ever present. Don't we say that? Yeah. So does that mean that God is present when I'm here in the minor 28? But if I'm in Africa, God is not present? Do I take God with me when I go and y'all don't have no God for y'all? Think about it. Or do we share that same God whether I'm physically here or physically on another continent? Is that the God of all creation? That's what they say, right? So I choose to believe that God can both be here and there. And I choose to believe that God loves me so much that God took me out all the mess that I got myself into, that I can stand before you all unemphatically and state that if it wasn't for that God on my side, I truly don't know where I would be. I end with this little story. When I was smoking crack, one time my idea came. I used to work for the thrift store, so I used to get the stuff before they got it. So I could take stuff right off the truck, go straight to the man selling lawnmowers and stuff. So I didn't have a lawnmower, but I had one lawnmower, but that was the one that I had taken for me to cut my grass with, and my mind flashed on, sell that lawnmower. You know you're going to get another one. But then the God in me said, don't do it. If you do it, that's the end of everything for you. I listened to the God inside of me. I stopped smoking crack. I kept my lawnmower. I got back in a real relationship with my wife and my children. And, then things start changing for me. And then I found this church came about. I came to this church, and, I hadn't been to church in forever. With the experiences I had in church, I started out saying the experiences I had. And I found this, and I've been here ever since, almost 29 years. But I came this close. If I'd have sold that lawnmower, even though I could have got another one, then when I got that Jones, I might have been picking up the sofa while my wife and my children was sitting on it, unplugging the television while they was looking at it. See, that's how it all begins. Once you cross that line, then there's no determining where. Because, see, the where was before, not after. You understand? So I could have been a whole nother statistic. But God had God's plan. And I tell you this, I'm grateful for God's plan. So when they says in, the Beatitudes, blessed are they, I'm thankful that God saw fit to align me back with God's self. Because I tried to work in the church as a child, but because I didn't go to the Roman Catholic school, I couldn't work in the church. And so I just eventually faded away. Then drinking, all the stuff for the hood. I don't know if you know, but most people that know anything about the hood, we know that they're sending stuff in the hood to get us. But God covered me. So when I stand up and say, I know that there's some kind of energy, something, trust you me, I know. I'm not saying this to be cliches. I'm not saying it for you to believe what I believe. Believe what you want to. But I'm telling you what my reality was. And there's a person right there that can validate that information. I know. So when I say with the mind of God, I serve, I know what God saved me from myself. And that was destructive me. So I thank the Most High Creator for that. And guess what? Whether you there, where I was, whether you here, where I am, or whether you somewhere in between or in front, it's the same race that we're on. This is why I stay, and I could quit here. For the race is not given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. But listen to this part. This is the part that they leave out conveniently. Know the riches to the wise, but to those who endure to the end. They want you to think that because they have money, they're wise. We see our young people abused with money every day. They come into $100 million, and in a short 10-year career, they're so broke they can't pay attention. They have a show coming on now with Evander Holyfield and some other professionals, white and black, that made money, and they lost it because in all thy getting, they didn't get overstanding. God bless you. God keep you. This is truly my prayer. Assalamu alaikum. Ashe Hotel. Namaste. Peace and blessings. Thank you. Thank you for coming on, Sister Cassie, my great niece, Sunshine, and Cousin Rain. God bless you. Yeah, peace.